Education Secretary Miguel Cardona joined the call this week for schools to drop out of the U.S. News and World Report rankings, saying that colleges should not worship at what he calls the false altar of the annual list. Cardona's comments come as some of the country's top medical and law schools ditch the popular metric, with many citing concerns over diversity, equity, and inclusion. But my next guest says the rankings provide a valuable service to prospective students, and that providing more data, not less, should be the goal. Eric Gertler is the executive chairman and CEO of U.S. News and World Reports. Welcome, Mr. Gertler. Thank you for coming in. So first of all, I want to give you a chance to respond to what the Secretary of Education said about your list in schools.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. As you may know, we released an open letter to the Secretary. I have great respect for the Secretary of Education, but we believe in more data and not less data. And what's interesting is, putting aside the criticisms or insults to our brand, the Secretary agrees with us. He wanted to know about the ROI on education for students. We agree. We believe that outcome measurements are critical for law schools. The difference is that the Secretary went to speak at two of the most elite law schools. We focus our work on the 43,000 students that go to law school every year, not just the ones that go to the elite schools. And so the difference here is values versus data measurement. And our data provides for accountability. We believe that in order for students to be able to make the best decision to go to law schools, we need to hold these law schools accountable, and they don't want to be held accountable.
All right. So when you say ROI, you mean return on investment, I assume.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So when you talk to these schools, and you have done so, what do they tell you are the reasons for why they are dropping the rankings?
Well, and as you know, as a journalism-based enterprise, we believe that we need to do our homework. Our editorial and data team talked to over 100 law deans in an effort to understand the concerns. And by and large, we addressed most of the concerns for these law deans. But what becomes clear is that when you start to go through the measurements, many of the measurements the law school deans agree with. For example, outcome-based statistics. It's important that when students go to school, they have a sense of what the school is delivering, and they have a sense of their employment possibilities after school, whether, by the way, it's in private practice or in public interest. But the reality is that for the elite law schools that care about values as opposed to accountability, it doesn't matter what the rankings is. They don't control them, and therefore they don't want to participate in something that they can't control, and therefore being held accountable by an independent third party.
Well, so, I mean, are they explicit in saying any particular reason? They say, do they say, for example, when you use the word values, that covers a lot of ground. Are they talking about race and gender principally? What are they talking about when they say that?
Well, for example, and I raised this in my op-ed. Let's take diversity. I think diversity is an important value, and that is important. But what is happening is, and we have asked for data. We've talked to college presidents to get that data so that we can measure an important goal like diversity. We have yet to get that data, I might add. And so when the rankings aren't providing the exact measurements that the law schools want, they don't want to participate. So think about it this way. Every school wants the rankings. They just want the rankings that fit their own measurements. I'll give you another example. On public interest fellowships, the elite law schools say that we don't measure public interest fellowships. We do. We do measure public interest fellowships, and we also have announced that we will give full credit to public interest fellowships that are paid for by the law school. Now, that is something that only the elite law schools can underwrite because most law schools can't afford that. And we're giving full measurement to that.
Yeah, but okay,
so really,
you're talking about some of these issues here, but I want to get to the core here.
Yeah.
Is this really about race and gender? And the schools just don't like the fact that you don't account enough for that in the rankings, or that by using statistical measures as much as you do for accountability reasons, as you suggest, the rankings downplay these issues and make it harder for them to attract minority students.
Well, I'm in my op-ed, I'm not opining on that. What I am saying is that for these law schools, they're using us to distract from all the issues that they're facing.
Okay.
And certainly with respect to selectivity, which is part of our rankings and has been in terms of test scores and grades, by pulling out, then they're not being measured on that. And, again, our point of view is about accountability. And we believe that when students spend that much money, are often laden with thousands of dollars in debt, then these institutions need to be accountable to the experience and education that they deliver to the students.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Eric Gertler. Appreciate your coming in and your point of view.